For RCR Wireless, I'm Sean Kinney, and welcome to Mobile Midday News.
And I'm Joey Jackson. A big thank you, as always, to our sponsor, TelecomCareers.com, the industry's largest resume database and job board.
And we'd also like to welcome our editor-in-chief, Dan Meyer. Dan here on the screen joining us from his office in Denver, Colorado. First up this morning, some big news out of China. Media in Beijing is reporting that sources inside China Mobile say the company is phasing out its 5-year-old TD SCDMA network. That 3G network was rolled out in 2009 amid a lot of fanfare, as it was a unique type of technology developed in China. Reports indicate China Mobile may stop expanding its 3G network and shift emphasis in spending over to 4G. The TD SCDMA network never really caught on with consumers who preferred China Telecom and China Unicom's networks, which are based off of international CDMA 2000 and WCDMA standards.
And Dan has a story up on RCRWireless.com this morning that looks into the latest branding move from carrier T-Mobile, which regards itself as an Un-carrier. Dan, tell us about T-Mobile's branding posture in this new data rollover service.
T-Mobile's really been all over the place lately. They've been taking an aggressive posture, particularly with the holidays. So Dan, tell us a little bit more.
Sure, guys. This morning T-Mobile announced their Un-carrier 8.0 initiative, which is their latest Un-carrier marketing initiative. This one today was focused around mobile data and basically a rollover feature now that they're offering for mobile data buckets. This rollover feature is targeted at customers who actually purchase an additional data bucket on top of the standard or the flat data that comes with their current package. So currently customers get 1 gigabyte of when they sign up for a T-Mobile plan. So when they purchase a larger bucket of the 3 or 5 or unlimited bucket, they will now be able to roll over that data to the next month. So they won't lose that data anymore. It's a very smart move by T-Mobile. If you've seen the results over the past couple of quarters, their average revenue per user has been sinking year over year as customers have been moving to the new simple choice plans. And so this one here, basically, this new offering, will entice customers to sign up for their additional data buckets, which should then help, I guess, a little bit reverse the downward trend there on their average revenue per user results. So a smart move by T-Mobile. Also, as part of the announcement this morning, they also announced a little bit of a network expansion with some new spectrum assets that they have. They have announced that they're going to start rolling out 700 megahertz support in a couple of markets with plans to expand that across a bigger part of the footprint going forward into 2015. T-Mobile over the past year or so has been aggressively targeting 700 megahertz spectrum licenses in the secondary markets, and so now they're starting to turn on some of those licenses in some markets. And this move will allow them to offer both greater, broader coverage, but also better in-building coverage too. So a smart move by T-Mobile to both expand the capacity and the coverage of their markets.
And Dan's also been keeping us up to date on the Federal Communication Commission's ongoing broadband spectrum auction, which is speeding up a little bit as we approach the holidays. Dan, can you please give us a quick update on what's going on there?
Sure, yeah. Well, today or this morning, the auction surpassed round 100, which is a bit of a milestone. Sure, yeah. Well, today or this morning, the auction surpassed round 100, which is a bit of a milestone. It also surpassed the $44 billion mark this morning. So the record haul from this auction continues to build. The FCC this morning instituted what they're calling their Stage 3 bidding process, which basically is requiring those who are still participating to keep the money active basically on the table. So if they want to participate or they want to bid on some licenses, they need to kind of keep the bidding activity going so they can bid on other licenses as well. So just a move by the FCC to kind of keep this auction rolling along. It's still at just 6 rounds per day. I suspect that the FCC here at some point will bump that up to a greater number of rounds per day to kind of get this auction moving forward. The Stage 3 move did bump up the number of rounds initially, or number of bids in the initial round, tripled it from what we're seeing before, but those have now kind of fallen back a little bit. So the auction is still kind of slowly progressing. There's a good chance with this move that the FCC could be looking to wrap this up before the holidays. I know I've been talking a lot about the fact that this could go into early next year. Hopefully, with this latest move, the FCC could be pushing this thing to get done before we hit the holiday break.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. Now we're going to bring in our editor, Martha DeGrasse, who conducted a hangout today discussing diameter signaling, NFV, and other topics with analysts Sue Rudd and Travis Russell, Oracle's Director of Product Marketing.
And quickly, just give us an overall quantitative view of the traffic levels and how they compare to past levels.
I wish I had the report standing in front of me, but
yeah, no, that's fine. We know it's going up. Is it fair to say it's rising more quickly than mobile data traffic in general is rising?
Oh, well, it's interesting. When I did a comparison between mobile data traffic and diameter traffic, there was still an increase between, in the diameter traffic was still higher than mobile data, but not significantly higher, which is why I didn't reflect that in the report. However, the report is still very conservative. We take a very conservative view. So when I look at the different regions and I look at the different interactions that subscribers have, for example, with video, we have to take that into account. And so it's not just saying, oh, LTE broadcast is going to create this huge amount of signaling. I also have to look at, how many people would really be using video within a particular region, and is it really going to have that big of an impact? So we do take a rather conservative look at some of these services and their impacts. I think actually the numbers will be much higher.
Now, Sue, I bet you would agree with that. I know that we hear a lot right now about network function virtualization. How is that going to impact diameter signaling traffic?
Well, this is the topic that really ought to be talked about a great deal more. We've seen a tremendous discussion of all the NFV impacts and all the cost savings you can make, but there really has been almost no discussion of the signaling impact. First, of the separation of the control plane and the user plane, which is great, but just that alone is really making a difference on just the signaling interworking for the existing legacy equipment, if that's virtualized, as what many of the operators are actually doing right now. But as we go forward with NFV and we decompose our functional elements into VNFs, virtual network functions, then those have to be reassembled on the fly to configure actual service logic. And we will see a tremendous potential load on signaling unless we aggregate appropriate groups of VNFs and optimize the performance of the network.
And thanks for that, Martha. You can see all that hang out on RCR Wireless News website.
Yeah, and last week RCR had some of our editorial staff out in Silicon Valley for the TM Live Digital Disruption Show. Joey spent some time this morning putting together a video piece from that show, so let's check out the sights and sounds of digital disruption.
One of the biggest issues here is the drive toward virtualization.
We are leading the smart cities approach inside TM Forum.
Wipro, as many of you would be knowing, has been actively involved in the evolution of NFV.
I'm here to tell you about OpenNMS, which is the world's first enterprise-grade open-source network management platform.
Part of the emerging technologies, we actually offer a set of solutions that provide software-defined storage, networking, and network management.
We're looking at actually rather what we believe to be a very big industry opportunity and industry challenge.
We help service providers of all types and sizes to run better and grow faster.
Customers are increasingly asking for more precision, more detail, more visibility into what's happening in their networks.
I think you traveled last week and went out to San Jose for Digital Disruption. I saw some of your stories, lots about the NFV SDN space. What was the big takeaway for you after sitting through those sessions and demos?
Yeah, I was out there last week for the event for about a day and a half. Again, I went to the event last year. Yeah, I was out there last week for the event for about a day and a half. Again, I went to the event last year as well. This year, I guess the biggest noticeable difference was just that the virtualization space has really gotten a lot more momentum, a lot more talk about actual deployments and customers and carriers looking to do more with it. I talked to a few carriers while I was out there as well, and it seemed like to them, that they're very excited about virtualization, about what's kind of coming up with NFV and SDN. Though it did seem like some of them were still kind of struggling to find broader support within the organization. There's a lot of lip service perhaps right now about the virtualization space, but these guys are still trying to find the proper footing inside their organizations for the next move there. So it was an interesting event to go to.
All right, thanks for that, Dan. Now our editor, Kelly Hill, who specializes in test and measurement, is going to tell us a little bit about a new product from AT&T that provides performance monitoring for distributed antenna systems.
Hey guys. So typically when you're talking about distributed antenna systems in large venues, when you talk about monitoring and testing them, you might rely on probes. You might do things like have people on the ground walking around during the event, testing the network with user devices. And as you can imagine, when you start thinking about the number of large venues and the number of events in a given year, that's a lot of money. And so AT&T set out to figure out how to monitor DAS in a way that was cheaper and, at the same time, let them do monitoring on a large scale. Now, I talked to Shane Elliott, who is a manager in the AT&T Antenna Solutions Group, and he actually invented the method that they're using to do this. And they have a device called the Echobot. And so there's a bot, which is a little 10 by 10 box, and it has an Android handset and a couple of other modules inside it. So it covers LTE, 3G, and Wi-Fi. And it hooks into Echo, which is kind of central management software system. And they use that to, they put one in each sector of a DAS, and then they have much better visibility into what the user experience is like, whether you can stream a YouTube video, whether you can successfully post a video, post a picture, send a text message. And and then they can use that information to tune the system during the game to improve the wireless coverage if things are getting particularly congested, or as people move, from the concourse into the bowl area and back out during halftime, and move the capacity along with them. And so you can read that on rcrwireless.com. That's an interview with Shane Elliott, the inventor of the Echobot for DAS testing and monitoring. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks for the insight, Kelly. And as everybody does, she posts regularly to our website, rcrwireless.com.
Yeah, big thank you to Kelly for that test and measurement piece, also Martha DeGrasse. And, we also want to thank Dan Meyer, who agreed to close the show for us today. So, Dan?
Thanks guys again for taking the time today. Thanks everyone for joining us for Mobile Midday News. Again, for more on these stories and more stories, obviously, check out the rcrwireless.com website. Hey, well, again, thanks guys again for taking the time today. Thanks everyone for joining us for Mobile Midday News. Again, for more on these stories and more stories, obviously, check out the rcrwireless.com website, as well as the RCR Wireless YouTube channel. Lots of good videos and stories there. Also, a big thanks to our sponsor, obviously, telecomcareers.com. And we'll see you everyone back here tomorrow morning for Global Joe.
Good job, Stormy.